I never expected her to remember my name, let alone everything else. The lecture hall was mostly empty when I slipped inside after class, the late afternoon light slicing through the dusty windows in lazy beams. She was already there, perched on the edge of her desk, sorting papers with the kind of absent-mindedness I recognized, the slight twitch of her fingers when she thought no one was watching, the way her eyes flicked up for a moment when the clock ticked loud in the quiet room. "Hey, Ryan," she said without looking up, voice low and steady. I'd only told her my name a few times, but she said it like it belonged to her routine, like she'd been saying it every day for years. I hesitated in the doorway, shuffling my feet, feeling the weight of the empty seats around me. "Hey." The clock on the wall ticked, loud enough to fill the space between us. I shifted, folding and unfolding a crumpled napkin in my hand without really thinking. She finally looked up, and for a second, her eyes caught mine. Not just a glance, but a quiet acknowledgement. That pause, the subtle lift of her brow, was something I wasn't ready for, but couldn't look away from. "You shouldn't be here after hours," she said, a faint smile tugging at the corners of her mouth. I laughed softly, a little unsure, then locked the door. Her smile didn't fade. Instead, it grew, just a little, like she'd been waiting for me to say something like that. The kind of small joke that felt like a secret between two people who weren't supposed to be sharing anything, but still did. She tapped a pen against her notebook and glanced toward the window. "You always come in late. Only when the cafe's too crowded." I paused. "Or when I need the quiet." She nodded, her eyes on the window now, fingers playing with a stray page on her desk. "I get that." There was a moment of silence, the kind that wasn't uncomfortable, but charged with something unspoken. I noticed how she tucked a loose strand of hair behind her ear, a small motion that felt deliberate and fragile all at once. I wanted to ask her something, anything, but the words wouldn't come. Instead, I just sat on the edge of a chair, the worn leather creaking softly under me. I could feel her eyes on me, steady but patient, like she was waiting for me to find my own rhythm in this quiet space. I pulled out my phone, thumb hovering over an unsent text. It was the same one I'd paused on for days, something simple I never quite had the courage to send. Instead, I let it sit there, blinking in the silence. "So," she said, folding a corner of her notebook, "how's your semester going?" "Long," I admitted. "But okay." She smiled, a little softer now, eyes flicking to my hands where the napkin lay forgotten on my lap. "Sometimes it's the long ones that matter most." I looked up, caught in the way she said it, not like advice, but like a truth she was living through too. The lights outside started to dim, the classroom settling into the kind of quiet that made every breath feel louder. I felt an unfamiliar warmth in the space between us, a hesitation that was almost like holding my breath. "I should probably go," I said, standing up slowly. She stood with me, and for a moment, we just looked at each other, the kind of pause that held everything and nothing all at once. Then, almost as an afterthought, she reached into her bag and pulled out a small slip of paper, pressing it into my hand. "I'm leaving this here, just in case." I unfolded it, her number, neat and simple, with a little note that said, "Call if you want to stay after hours." I didn't say anything. I just nodded, pocketed the paper, and left the room with the door clicking softly behind me. Outside, my phone buzzed, a message from an unknown number. "You shouldn't be here after hours." I stopped in my tracks, the night suddenly feeling less empty than before. The next evening, the classroom was warmer somehow, lamps casting a soft glow over scattered papers and half-empty coffee cups. She was already there when I arrived, sitting cross-legged on the floor, sorting through a stack of student essays. "Did you really mean it?" "About staying after hours," I asked, dropping my bag by the door. She looked up, eyes caught mid-smile, like she was deciding whether to play along or pull back. "Depends. Are you good company?" I shrugged, moving closer. "I try." She handed me a steaming cup of tea, the warmth spreading slowly through my fingers. "This is chamomile. Helps with nerves or bad decisions." I laughed quietly, unsure if she was joking. We sipped in silence, the kind where words feel heavy and unnecessary. "Why do you stay late?" I asked, tracing a ring left on the table. She hesitated, then said, "It's quieter than my apartment. Less noise. Less pretending." Something about the way she said it, soft but cracked, made me want to ask more, but I didn't. I thought about how her daughter and I used to cross paths at school events, how awkward those hellos felt now. About the divorce she never mentioned, but I knew was there, like a shadow hiding in her smiles. The age difference felt heavier in moments like this. Me trying to figure out where I belonged in her world, her looking at me like I might be too much or not enough. I helped her organize the papers, hands brushing once, both of us freezing for a heartbeat. "Do you ever regret it?" I asked, voice barely above the ticking clock. She looked away, eyes settling on a photo taped to the desk, a younger version of her, smiling with someone I guessed was her ex. "Regrets complicated," she said finally. "Sometimes I think about all the what-ifs. But mostly, I'm just tired of pretending." I nodded, though I didn't fully understand. She reached out and tucked a stray lock of hair behind my ear, a touch so light it could have been mistaken for a breeze. I don't know why that moment stayed with me. I thought later, maybe because it felt like someone finally saw me. The next evening, the classroom felt different. Less warm. The lights flickered slightly, casting long shadows. She was there, but the easy calm between us had thinned, stretched tight like a thread about to snap. I sat down beside her, waiting for something. Maybe a sign, maybe nothing at all. Her fingers fiddled with the edge of her notebook, tracing invisible lines. She avoided my gaze, eyes fixed somewhere beyond the window. "Did you call your mom?" I asked, the words stumbling out before I could stop them. She shook her head, barely. "Not yet." There was a pause, thick enough to hear my own heartbeat. I wanted to reach out, to bridge the space, but my hands stayed still, resting on my knees. Suddenly, the door cracked open, a janitor, just passing through, but enough to pull us back. She stood, brisk now, collecting papers with precise movements. "I should get going," she said, voice clipped. I nodded, swallowing the lump in my throat. As she packed, I caught the flicker of doubt in her eyes, like she was fighting against something invisible, maybe the age gap, maybe the quiet judgment she imagined from others. Our hands brushed once as she zipped her bag. A breath, a heartbeat. I looked at her, saw the hesitation there, the almost, but not quite. For a moment, it felt like we might cross the line. But then she stepped back, a soft, almost apologetic smile. "Maybe another time," she said, and the words hung unfinished between us. I wanted to say something, anything, but the silence swallowed it whole. We found ourselves on the park bench just outside the university, the city noise muted beneath the soft rustle of leaves. It was late, the kind of evening when the world feels both vast and strangely small. She sat close, but not too close, folding her hands in her lap, eyes tracing the cracks in the pavement. I kept catching glimpses of her, how the streetlight caught her hair, the way her fingers tapped lightly, like she was counting something invisible. I'd seen her talking earlier with another colleague, laughter spilling easily, the kind of easy comfort I hadn't felt with her. And for a moment, something inside me twisted. "I don't like her," I blurted, then bit my tongue, wishing I hadn't. She looked up, startled but quiet. "Who?" "That woman. You seemed closer with her than with me." Her lips pressed together, and she looked away, like she was weighing whether to say more or retreat into silence. "I shouldn't feel this way," I said, voice barely steady. "I know there are things between us that make this complicated, but it's like every time you're with someone else, I lose a little more." She swallowed slowly, a flicker of guilt passing through her eyes. "I'm not sure what I want," she said, the words raw, unpolished. "Maybe I'm scared. Of losing control. Of what this means." The quiet stretched between us. No dramatic confessions, just the soft weight of something real, fragile, breaking through. Her hand moved almost imperceptibly toward mine, stopping just short, as if asking without asking. And I wondered, is this the moment we cross the line? Or is it the one we walk away from? The question hung there, unanswered. The following week, everything shifted without warning. She stopped staying late after class. The quiet invitations vanished. Our small, Stolen moments dried up like rain forgotten. I found myself waiting by the classroom door, then the coffee shop, then the park bench, alone every time. When we did cross paths, her smiles were shorter, her eyes flickering past me like I'd become a stranger she couldn't place. One afternoon, I caught her talking on the phone, low voice, tense. A man's name slipped through the cracks of their conversation. Mark. Something about custody came up. A child. I didn't ask. I didn't know how. Instead, I stared at the empty seat beside me, the cold tea on the table untouched. I typed a message, then deleted it. Typed again, paused. The words never left my phone. I don't know where we're going. I didn't feel heartbroken. I felt paused, like life forgot to finish the sentence. She opened the door before I could knock, standing there with the weight of everything unsaid pressed into her eyes. The evening air was cool, quiet except for the distant hum of traffic. I stepped inside without waiting, the small kitchen light casting soft shadows around us. The silence settled quickly, heavy but familiar. "I've been thinking," she said, voice low, like she was testing the words against the walls. "Maybe us, it's not about should or could. Maybe it's just what it is." I nodded, feeling the tension in my chest loosen, just a little. "I'm scared," she admitted, fingers tracing the rim of her mug. "Not of you. Of what it means if I let go of the safety I've built." "I get that," I said, swallowing the lump in my throat. "Me too." We sat there, neither pushing, neither pulling. The clock ticked somewhere behind us. A quiet truce. Her hand found mine across the table, tentative but real. "Okay," she said softly. And maybe that was enough. Months passed quietly. The bench outside the university became our usual spot again. No need for words, just shared silences filled with the soft rustle of leaves and the steady pulse of passing time. She still brought chamomile tea sometimes. I usually had my black coffee. Our routines folded into one another gently, like the slow turning of seasons. No grand declarations, no sudden leaps, just a steady presence. At 8:47 a.m., I'd find her waiting by the door, a book in hand, eyes already softened by the morning light. I'd smile, because she remembered, because she stayed. We never spoke about the past the way we used to, not directly. Instead, it lived in small gestures, a folded napkin left on the table, a glance that lingered just a little too long, the quiet comfort of a hand brushing hers. I don't know if she realized it, but when she tucked that stray lock of hair behind my ear that first night, it wasn't just kindness. It was a promise. And maybe that's what love really is. Less about words, more about the moments that quietly refuse to let go. I often think about that unsent message. Life didn't forget to finish the sentence after all. It just wrote it slower, in a language only we understand.